to set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Hello, my fellow film buffers. We got memories, and this is what I guess like a little popularized term. It's called a core memory. Recently, this past weekend, with my mother and my fiance, Deptford, New Jersey. Kind of messed up the seating, but I thought we were a little bit too close. Me and the family, we watched Masters of the Universe 2026, made by Amazon. Jeez, right? Like that's how far we've come. The freaking website that can ship you a book. Cheap school books, right? That's what Amazon was built on. They have a movie. They have a $200+ million movie, and it's going to be a huge disaster. But my mother wanted to go see it, and I kind of had to remind her. I'm like, yeah, there was one before this. There was a 1987, and kind of had to like jog her memory, show her some pictures on my phone. Just remind her like Dolph Lundgren, like it was kind of like Big Expectations, and Tony, who is my father. I just always called him Tony. I don't know why my family accepted that. I guess that's my privilege. I was able to call my parents by their first names. It was a weird thing. I was a weird child. I was a goofball. It stuck, and here we are, a couple of decades later. So it was kind of like everyone was just like telling her. Like I remember seeing that 1987 movie so clear. And here's the clarity of it. It might have been like my first movie that I had to see from pure curiosity. It wasn't like, it was almost like my Star Wars. I grew up with Masters of the Universe. I remember seeing Return of the Jedi in theaters. I remember my father reading me the Jabba the Hutt subtitles. Giba dooba dooba baba. Like it's the fun. Well, when Peter Griffin does the Jabba the Hutt, it's the funniest thing on earth. That's what I was trying to impersonate there. And I remember watching this movie, and recently I was just re-engaging in it, getting ready for Masters MOTU 2026. And I'm rewatching this, and I'm trying to like put myself in the place of a kid that watched the original cartoon, that had a near complete run of the first 3 or 4 years. But by 1987, everything had faded. I was just about already out of G.I. Joe, out of Transformers, out of Masters of the Universe. And I remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was 2-3 years after. Like kicking in. And then it was, everything became comic books for me. So a lot of toys. It was mostly like superhero based toys. I bought like everything I bought, I kept in the package. But I would back collect. I would go to like flea markets. I was a weird teenager. I would go to flea markets and hustle my neighborhood friends for their toys, and I had this huge toy inventory. I've sold it all since then. But I had like a near complete run of loose Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Like Transformers 2, like all the way through Pretenders and Headmasters. And I didn't watch a lick of those cartoons, even though I think Headmasters might have aired for one season here in the US. But I knew I had to watch this movie. And Dolph Lundgren, and I was addicted to movie magazines at the time. Dolph Lundgren seemed so perfect for this role. Just the way he, on some of the magazine photos, the publicity photos, the movie posters. And then there was Skeletor, and you're just like, holy, like crap. But you could tell, right? Like he may didn't have like the cross on his chest, the colors were off. You knew it was off. And then you watch the movie, and I always loved Skeletor's. They look like the Imperial gunners, which are all black, reflective, but they kind of have like a underjaw. But they have like a scoop back helmet, but they're all black. And they were, I think, of the final 16 Return of the Jedi / Star Wars Kenner figures. And I had one of those figures. Great looking figure. And I just love Skeletor's like army. And then like the movie begins and Skeletor has won, which is really the same beginning as the 2026 Masters of the Universe. And the story's just there. Like things look different. Evelyn in '87 is way better than the Evelyn now. Like I'm sorry. And just for like the first act of this movie, just as a kid, I was nothing but into it. And then they go to Earth, and I want to say, at the time, I may have seen like maybe a couple images. It might have been in Fangora, maybe in Comic Scene magazine, one of those. And I maybe like never like put it together, but once they get to Earth, the movie, in my eyes, died, and so did the franchise, and so did any hope of He-Man and Masters of the Universe New Adventures that came out a couple years later. Might have been 2 years later, maybe 3. And it wasn't until like the 2000s. The 2000s had a TV series. They revamped the toy line. Everything was sculpted by, I believe, a New Jersey studio called the Four Horsemen. That ran for about 2 seasons, and that was like really it. And since then, like Masters has only existed as a toy line. It's a little bit wild, like that. It's still continuing, but I think it's a great toy line versus like a narrative. Because even when I was younger, like I just wanted like story. I was so interested in what they were doing with the characters and the plots and the backstories of everything and what was revealed and just things that kind of like get the blood pumping through your veins. And then there's Courtney Cox, who I would just remember. She would pop up in movies and TV shows. I remember when she started appearing on Friends. I'm like, that's the girl from Masters of the Universe. And I would put in like a VHS tape and show my sister. I'm like, isn't this crazy? Like the girl from Masters of the Universe is on Friends. She's one of the Friends girls, and it's like the biggest show in television next to Seinfeld and Frasier. But recently, so like with a young childhood disappointment of potentially the first movie that I had a vision for, a first movie that I viewed as a validation of something I loved. That if the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe was successful, I would be validated. These toys that I grew up with. And keep in mind, I'm low double digits when this movie comes out, aka Powders. And then it died. I saw the franchise die in front of me with this movie, but through the years, and I just remembered like my father, like I would have to, I just remember begging my father to see this movie, and he did it, and I remember him like he really didn't like talk bad on many things, especially if it was like maybe like something he knew you were into. But I just remember him not holding back like at all. I think he even suggested that we leave just like during the middle of the movie because they're in like some like prom. They're at this prom town hall, and yeah, and like these henchmen are, and they're just like setting things on fire and like stuff like that. But at the same time, it was like, we got a great ending though, right? Like the ending of this movie with Skeletor becoming a god, which Kevin Smith heavily borrowed from for his Netflix show. Like the middle of this movie is just awful, and I always felt a betrayal, and even to this day. But recently, yeah, like I said, like rewatching, I would rewatch this movie every few years. Some of the transformation and my appreciation for the middle of this movie, we'll just call it the Earth stuff. Story wise, the way that they use Courtney Love's parents against her, where they trick her, they bring them back to life, and ever since she's first on screen in this movie, that's her like emotional anchor, and she's trying to like run away from the grief and her loss. The way how that is used in this movie, and there is an absolute arc and through line, nice. I've been in corporate America for quite some time. I appreciate this movie in with the attitude of like getting it done. They had what they were able to do with what they had, they did it. They solved the problem. They brought the movie to modern day Earth, pushed the characters, pushed a little bit of the plot, but relatively managed the movie enough to have these two big bookends. So when they're running around with like the Earth people, and I was expecting some of them to pop into this movie. I really like the girl and the boyfriend. I was not. I think it I think it could have been there. They could have been in Eternia the entire time. But I always, like later though, appreciated the design work, them coming up with new villains and new henchmen. I always wanted figures of Skeletor's army, especially like on those hoverboards. And the whole moment when they come down the city street, it's there, and the whole hoverboard action sequence, it's there, and the movie blends the laser guns, which like again like the action figures perfect, but the action figures would come with like a barbarian shield and a laser gun. It's like what what the hell is this world like? Nothing makes sense. Why do they have swords and guns? Just give them guns. But there's parts of this movie where you say to yourself, like, I'm in another narrative. Like, as soon as we deal with the breakup of Courtney Love and her boyfriend, and she's moving away, he's trying to anchor her back home, he's trying to care for her. The movie shifts into like another narrative, and everything with He-Man and Skeletor in this flick is almost like perfect, because that's all those two characters can do. And I really think, even if it's like low budget, and I know there's a Canon Films documentary out there, which we'll discuss that because on the weekends we do documentary drops at night. I feel just as a production company, Canon knew there was limitations just in the story and the characters. Something had to get done. I would say even with a bigger, let's just say they had a bigger budget and more time, the story still could have cycled back to Earth. Not a lot of people pick up on that possibility. I say it's a possibility because I just think on a narration, just on telling a story, we have to bring it home to make it relatable. And there's always that fight, and there's always that struggle in how much of the ladder do we put in front of the audience so they can climb the plot with us all. And keep in mind, the plot is there to introduce us to the characters, and sometimes, when it comes scene to scene, it's a plot scene, it's a character scene. But this movie, though, it really is divisive for me. There's parts I love, there's parts I hate, and I just even when I was younger, I'm like, this thing killed Masters of the Universe. Like, no one's, and no one, and honestly speaking, even the 2000 series, the generation of children really had to grow up and get into their 40s to start purchasing effectively reproductions of these figures. Mattel had a collector's club, which it was called Masters of the Universe Classics. Very popular. They echoed that scale to DC Comics. So there's a DC Comics Classics that was more available in retail than the Masters figures were. But even then, Masters of the Universe Classics was subscription only. I think you could get them direct in comic shops, but it's not like you can go into it right now. You can go into a Target and the Walmart, and most likely there'll be new Masters figures, but they're almost like remolds of the originals, or just kind of like updated sculpts and maybe some of the play features removed. But it really did take the generation getting into their 40s to like re-inject some solid cash flow into this entire franchise. I don't think the franchise ever recovered from the '87 Dolph Lundgren movie. As much as I appreciate it, I love the design work. A guy named William Stout did the costumes, and he's one of the best. He also worked on Wizards. What maybe my top three, one of my top three animated films of all time, next to Fantasia and Akira, Wings of Misa. If you guys need Anastasia, Lion King, Pocahontas, maybe that's like some of my top 10 for animated films. But either way, guys, yeah, some core memories of Masters of the Universe 1987, seeing it with my pops. I love you guys. Rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap.